And there went my camera. Robert, holy crap.
We need 3 more people so we can play Hollywood Squares.
There you go.
If Rob's here, he must be going onto the wrong Zoom.
Hello, Rob.
Hello, guys. How are we doing?
Hello.
Good, mate.
Are you well?
Yeah.
What's alive?
Well is relative.
I just thought I'd pop in for a little while. I have to go out in about half hour, but I thought I'd come and shoot the breeze, so to speak.
Glad you did. Oh, there went Terry. Probably a client call. Well, thanks everybody for popping in. Good to see you joined us this week, Rob.
Yeah, nice
And,
to see you all. It's a
just
bit
in
earlier
time,
this week.
just in time for the impending launch of GPT 29.
Now with more bacon.
Yeah, right. It's basically just a bacon wrapped GPT-4.
Has anyone had a little play with the latest version?
Not I. No interest.
Okay, right.
I have interest, but I was out of town on client meetings all day yesterday, and so far today I've just been watching people go, "Oh my God, it built me a whole website, including a sales funnel and landing pages and everything." It's like,
All out work.
oh no, this could be even worse than I thought.
Yeah.
SEO is dead. Ooh.
Did you do anything with it, Rob?
I played around with the last version. I haven't got round to playing with the current version. I mean, I just want to see what it could do and what kind of stuff it could write, and you know, lots of people had like sort of raved about it, like for kind of segmenting keywords and like semantics and stuff like that, and blog posts. So I've had a little play. I think from a creative perspective, if you're stuck like for ideas, it's pretty useful, because if it gives you, say, like a skeleton post to start with, and then you can add and subtract and build around it. So if you haven't got anyone in the office to bounce off and say, "So what do you think about this topic here? Do you think we should do this or that?" If you don't want to talk to yourself in a mirror, maybe talk to ChatGPT instead.
Well, I think there are definitely uses for it. You know, generating a full page of content is not one of them at this point, but certainly for research and comparison and stuff like that, I think there are uses for it. I just, you know, until they can break it of the lying and hallucinations, I have very little confidence in it for anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it just makes it up as it goes along very quickly.
There's been a discussion on Hacker News in the last couple of days where they're discussing how the new Chat GPT and all of these are just the latest marketing change in marketing name for AI. And what's funny is we're starting to see lines being drawn between the neural net guys and the language model guys, and they're all both declaring their thing is the only true AI. And it's like, okay, that's fine. I don't know.
I'm kind of, you all have a good time with that.
Yeah.
Let me know when you give me when my AI can give me a red button that says "Do my job."
Yeah, right.
I want to be George Jetson. My job is going to be to push a button once a day, get paid, go home.
Yeah. Indeed.
And they have, well, I mean, this is an extension of some of the new, what they call them, dark factories, where all the manufacturing happens without people.
Right.
Mhm.
It's 100% automated.
Wow.
And
Why
you
is it
start
called dark?
because you don't have to turn on the lights.
Oh, I see.
Ah, right.
You know,
And,
I was a plant manager for a plastic injection molding plant
mhm.
that was about, it was actually 3 adjacent bays of a building, and the center bay was fully automated. And the only lights were on the passageway where you or a forklift would go from section 1 to section 3. But everything, the material was fed, the parts were taken out of the mold, any inserts that had to go in before injection was put into the mold. Everything was automated. And even the sorting finally got automated. At first, they just conveyed everything out into section 1. Then they finally moved all the sorting into section 2, and it would actually scan and kick off the bad parts.
Yeah.
And everybody was so up in arms because there could have been 40 people working in that bay. Yeah. And we could have had a 12% scrap rate. Now we have a 0.8% scrap rate.
Right.
And we used to have a 9-second cycle. Now we have a 4.5-second cycle, and even the packaging was automated. So we actually ended up having more people by the time we added more warehouse people, a 4th bay for warehousing, more packers and sorters and trucks and everything else. We actually ended up increasing headcount. And the company went from making like $4 million a year to making like $4.5 million per quarter, So it's like there was a discussion on Facebook in one of the groups this morning. A mutual friend of ours was lamenting the downside to chat. And, I said, I don't share your opinion. I'm sorry. I don't have any confidence that there's either the desire or the ability to make meaningful regulation of something like this. This is just going to happen. And Jim was saying, yeah, well, it's just like anything else. You take the good with the bad, and you try to get ahead of it and do what you can with it. And I think that's where we're at with GPT or its counterparts. It's going to happen. It's already happening. It's not happening to the extent that all the folks that are singing its praises are claiming, but it will eventually. And we'll either be ahead of it or we'll get run over by it,
Mm.
But until it stops
Somebody
being a
was
lying
doing-
piece of crap, I'm not going to put any confidence in it.
Well, somebody was doing coding yesterday. This was on Twitter. And then somebody else said, well, yeah, you need to check the coding, but you need to do that with humans too. And it's like, hello.
So I've asked it to create
does it
functions.
work?
I've asked it to create functions that I've then sort of pasted and played with, and they haven't worked. And I've gone back and said, there's a problem with your function. It does not work. And it's like, oh, that's because of dum-de-dum-de-dum-dum. Try this, try that. And so, if anything, it gives you like a starting point. So if you don't know where you're going to start, if you have an idea and say, I want a function that is going to calculate how to do X to Y, say, it will provide you a starting point of code. Sometimes it's good, it works. First time you're like, oh, awesome. But a lot of the time it doesn't.
I've heard a number of people that have tried doing formularization in Excel, saying that they've had a pretty good batting average. They're getting pretty good formulas out of it. I'm not a guru on that stuff, so I haven't bothered to check it. But if that's true, there's a function. There's something that it can be handy for.
That would be a cool function.
And schema. I've heard also that it's pretty good schema.
Yeah.
And
So I think if there's data out there that's structured, that it knows about, then you can create pretty good workable code. Although I seem to remember, I'm going back now about kind of 8 or 9 weeks or so, I asked it to make some schema for a travel page, and it just created the wrong schema. And because when I cross-referenced with schema itself, it was just totally wrong. And I went, oh, well, that's a load of rubbish. Like waste of time that was. So
Wrong
it's hit and miss,
classification,
isn't it?
or
Yeah, but Rob,
was it-
it could have taken you longer to write that code yourself and find it was wrong.
Yeah.
But you use the
Yeah.
AI. So you speed it up, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it gave me a starting point to actually think and say, well, it's not that type, it's that type there. So it is kind of hit and miss. I mean, I think it's potentially useful, and it certainly is useful in some like circumstances, but to be like an all singing, dancing tool. So there's a guy on Facebook somewhere, I can't think of his name, but he's created like a chat GPT group, and there's an extension for Chrome, and he's saying how it can automate your processes, like for creating sort of lots of content, etc., yada yada yada, and it undoubtedly can, but that content is questionable. You couldn't just leave it to go out there in the wild because it's just bloody wrong in like so many ways.
No.
Like factually, it reads like it knows what it's talking about, but in all reality, it doesn't. And if you're writing about a topic like, I don't know, diabetes or some other kind of medical thing, you're in dangerous water, aren't you? Because who wants to read that stuff? That's wrong.
That's Christopher Semper that does that Facebook and plugin, and he shifted it all off Facebook since the admins got banned, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, actually. So they left Facebook because of the admins, including our own Ammon got banned, and nobody knows what for. So they've started up a forum, and it's all on there now.
Okay, because I was in that group. I'm an admin on the dumb SEO group, and I was banned from Facebook for 2 days, and it felt really weird. I was like, "What have I done? I've done nothing. What? Why?" And you know, when you then try to submit an appeal, it just said, "No, you are banned permanently." I thought, "What? No recourse to a human being?" It was like I don't know what I'd done. Like supposedly the most heinous crime ever that didn't even kind of merit like an audience with anyone. You know, it was just incredible. But then they let me back in. I got an email saying, "Sorry, we made a mistake." I emailed them and said, "Would you mind telling me what that a mistake was exactly?" And
you don't get anything back now. But,
Good.
and that's the thing. But they've got an AI doing that work for them, and they're obviously it's more machine learning, but they're banning accounts for certain things and just doing that automatically, which hopefully opens people's eyes to realizing that keeping your eggs in one basket is not a good idea. And shifting stuff off onto your own website or places where you can get that content is good. If you build an audience up on a closed shop like Facebook or Instagram, etc., you're asking for trouble in the long run.
100%. Own your own stuff.
Own your content, yeah,
own it. But it's I guess it's a big worry for lots of businesses. So a friend of mine, he's a dog trainer, a really nice guy, really passionate about what he does. He has a nice page and group of people. He gets a lot of business like through his page and whatnot. And yet I said to him, "What would you do if suddenly your personal account was banned? How would you communicate with your clients?" And he looked at me with a look of horror on his face. He said, "I don't know, mate. I don't know." I went, "Why? Get your wife or get whoever and make them an admin of those pages. But also start spending a lot more time on your bloody website. You know, drive people to your website, not on a Facebook chat thing. It's easy in terms of WordPress plugins and whatnot. You can build chat plugins and forum plugins and all sorts. Take them there and get them. But of course, that's one of the advantages of Facebook, isn't it? You've got that kind of ready-made audience. All the tools are there. It's really easy, and kind of getting people to shift across to your URL isn't always that simple, is it?
Yeah. I think you're muted, Steve, if you're talking to us.
I can't get over how bad they are at not identifying obvious problems. You know, I'm in a couple of Facebook groups that do nothing but talk about how to create thousands of pages. You know, and it's like they're on Facebook talking about how to game Facebook, and they're fine. They're doing just fine. And then you've got other groups where you're like, what possibly could have happened to get this group banned?
Yeah.
And they just shrug their shoulders. We can't tell you because then the bad guys might figure it out. It's like, I got news for you. The bad guys already know.
Yeah.
They knew within hours of you doing whatever it was you did last. It's what they do.
And we've seen, you know, people that we know have their accounts cloned, and all of a sudden you get a friend request from somebody you've been friends with for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so I report them, and they come back with the message that we find no reason, you know, they've not broken our guidelines. There was one several years ago when Obama was president where somebody in the open, not even in a group, showed his picture and called him a racial slur, and I reported it. And again, he's not violated our guidelines.
Yeah.
So, you know, if this is your artificial intelligence, congratulations, you have discovered verifiable stupidity. You know?
100%. Didn't they announce they were laying off another 10,000 people yesterday?
Yeah.
Or,
Sure did.
Yeah, saying it's unavoidable and all that stuff. And like, well, okay, well, aren't you making bundles of money already?
Elon Musk proved 90% of the programmers sit on their ass and do nothing all day.
Surely not.
Well, maybe not 90, but probably
Not
closer to
90%, but a lot of them are.
Are you saying they're very lazy, Terry? Are you saying they're very lazy over there? Are you saying they're a little bit lazy over at Twitter in the programming circles?
Yeah, probably a lot of discussion and not much work going on.
And
I know a lot of programmers who spend all their time on Stack Overflow. So
yeah.
Yes, cut and paste.
Copy paste.
Like if you're running a Formula One car, you've got a lot of mechanics. If you fire 90% of them, that car's still going to work for a few laps.
For a little
But
while.
at some point,
Until
it ain't going to
doesn't.
work anymore.
Yeah. Well, like I say,
It'd stop, it'd be a little slower.
if the engineers at Twitter are spending a lot of their time just shooting the breeze, I could bet I know who they're talking about.
Well, yeah.
Oh, well.
On the other hand, there's the human element. So I was looking at a article that theoretically I wrote, right? And at the top of the page, there's one headline, and you have to scroll down to read anything else. So I don't know who came up with this, but here it is. Here's the first thing that's enticing readers to read the rest of the stuff, right? How to improve PPC response, upon which other principles was Google Ads built. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Who wrote this? Why would anybody scroll down? It's barely English. It's not good English. And it's certainly not enticing or engaging. And why would you put that in there as the very first thing that people see?
One question. I bet you there's what somebody thinks is a nice picture as the background, and that text is on top of it.
Well, one's to one side and one's to the other, Terry. Yeah, but you know, it's a generic picture. So if you want Google to send people to your page and the first thing they see is totally unreadable text, what have you gained? Nothing. You've actually sent people.
Probably don't even see it. Watch somebody who actually, while they're surfing. Most people are scrolling down before the page even finishes frickin' loading.
Yeah.
Because they know what